Anthony Brindisi, the Assemblyman, is on the line right now. One of the young guns, according to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, that called for Sheldon Silver to step down as Assembly Speaker, and he's on the line right now. Good morning. What do you think of yesterday's verdict?
I think it's been a long time coming, and certainly the jury spoke yesterday. They found him guilty on all counts, and I think it sends a message to other elected officials who are involved in wrongdoing that you can't get away with this stuff. That there's laws out there. You have to abide by the laws, and you're there to do the people's business. You're not there for your own personal gain. And I think that's the one sad thing that comes out of all of this is that I've been at Albany now for a little over 4 years, and to be honest, most of the people I work with are very dedicated, hard-working people. But you have a few there that are bad apples, and if people see that, it's something that gets reported on a lot, and it really ruins it for everyone there who's trying to do a good job. But I think justice was served, and hopefully we can move on from this, and Albany can see a better day.
Yeah. How do you? I had talked to earlier this morning that maybe what is needed is this needs to be a full-time job, and you have to pay the legislators accordingly, and then cut off and make it a rule that you can't raise out this outside money. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's positives and negatives to making it a full-time job. I think the idea behind having a part-time legislature in the first place was that you had citizen legislators who could go back to their jobs, who still had experience from the outside world, who could bring those experiences back to the legislature when they're governing. Whether it's a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, you have that private real-world experience, or a business owner. And then when you're making laws, you know how they impact people like you who are in the real world. So I think you lose something by making it a full-time legislature, and then you're going to end up paying legislators even more than what they're paid now. So
so how do you prevent though the temptation and sometimes the only way to prevent this is to walk away and abstain from your vote. But how do you prevent this sort of thing from happening? A lobbyist comes, you vote in a certain way, somewhere down the road it benefits you financially. I mean, that's a pretty big temptation.
I think two things. I think first, you're never going to prevent wrongdoing by people who want to do bad things.
Right.
It's always going to happen. There's always going to be unethical people in this world. The goal is to try and get good people in office so you prevent those bad people from getting in office from doing those things, but they're going to find ways to break the rules no matter what. But secondly, I think one of the big problems with Albany is that too much power rests in the hands of the few. So you have the Speaker, you have the Majority Leader of the Senate, and they wield a lot of power. So one of the issues that I think has to happen, that I'm very supportive of, is putting term limits on how long someone could serve as a Speaker, and how long someone could serve as the Majority Leader or as a chair on a particular committee in each house.
Yeah.
Now, you had Sheldon Silver, who was there for 20 years as a Speaker. No one should ever serve as Speaker for 20 years. And during that time period, he amassed a ton of power where he was not checked. It's impossible to check. And he just gets more power, and it leads to more wrongdoing. So, I think you have to have more turnover in the leadership positions. You can present new ideas and fresh faces, and it prevents that amassing of too much power over a long period of time from happening.
Assemblyman, bear with me here just for a minute. Let's just say that I think it's a good idea, but let's say Silver had been he couldn't be in the leadership role 10 years ago. Couldn't he just stack the deck to say, listen, to all of his buddies, this is the guy I want to replace me because he's on the same page with me and he's going to do what I tell him. Doesn't that still open the door for that?
Well, I guess you could make that argument, but I think there's the way that the Assembly has been over the last 10 years, even the last 5 years. There's so much changeover. There's been so much changeover in the Assembly itself that those loyalties don't really stand as much as they did years and years ago.
Yeah.
And that's why it was easier for a group of us to get together to say, enough is enough. We need Silver to step down because we weren't loyal to him. We weren't there as long as some of the other members who had served with him for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So we were able to come together and say, hey, this is enough. Let's move in a new direction here, and time to change leadership.
What comes of all of this? So he immediately had to step down from his Assembly position.
Once you're convicted, your name, it's like you didn't even exist.
Your
name is stripped off your door, your desk, your website is taken down. You know, it's like you were not even an assembly member at that point. So he's convicted. He's no longer a member of the New York State Assembly, and I'm sure he'll appeal his conviction, and the process will play on. But you know, being found guilty on all 7 counts is pretty damning.
You know, a lot of people asking about term limits, not just term limits on those positions and chairmanships, but term limits in general for the Assembly and the Senate. I know that Senator Griffo has been talking about that for several years. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have an issue with term limits. It's something that I've kind of come around on a little bit. I feel at some level that the people are your term limits, and they'll vote you out when they don't want you there anymore. But I think one of the issues is right now you have 2-year terms, and it seems that everyone I talk to says being there for 2 years is too short a period of time for anything to get done. So making term limits is fine by me, but why don't you give the legislators a 4-year term, and then put maybe 3 terms on it or 4 terms on it, and then be done. That would be fine. But being there for 2 years, having to run every 2 years, and trying to raise money every 2 years to mount the campaign is very difficult.
Yeah.
It's hard to get your priorities and the work of the people done in 2 years. So maybe extend the period of time that you're there, 2 to 4 years, and then put some term limits on that.
All right, really interesting, and it's going to be interesting to follow. He's going to appeal this, Sheldon Silver, and it'll be interesting to see how long that process takes. This could really drag on for a long time.
Well, you got the Dean Scallo's case coming right behind this one, so you're probably going to see something of similar nature in the next couple of weeks.
We've heard stories that this reaches out even further. We had been talking to somebody a while back. This was maybe a year ago, that said that it may be involving some judicial positions.
You don't know. You don't know how far the corruption spreads. The issue too is just the money in politics and the ability of some of these large real estate corporations and developers to influence politics through large donations that go unchecked. And those are things that we've tried to change over the last couple of years, closing certain loopholes that prevent these big corporations from donating some money. It's been very difficult. It's passed in the Assembly. It hasn't passed in the Senate. So there's a lot of things that still can be done in terms of ethics reform in Albany to try and clean up the process a little bit. But again, I think it comes down to the person and trying to get good people in office, and that's one of the problems that you have nowadays. Is public service isn't held in such high regard anymore. It's hard to find good people who want to run for office anymore. So this is what you get. You get people like this where they're to do their own bidding.
His own business,
the work of the people.
Well, there was a story in the New York Post, 4 or 5 years ago about Silver, and while everybody else from New York City would take the train up, he had a private jet, and it was on the taxpayer dime. Just blatant in his disregard for decency. I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, some of the things that happen down in the city, I joke with some of my colleagues. I said, I would be marched out of my office in handcuffs if some of the stuff that goes on down there happens out there.
And they get away with it.
It's a different world and different set of rules and ethics.
All right, Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Okay, Bill. Thank
All
you.
right. What do they call him? A young gun, right? Wall Street Journal. One of the young guns.
Can't say go.
Can't say it. Can't say that. We'll come right back.